All right, everyone. Good evening. It's Thursday night, and welcome to another edition of the Mutant XPerience podcast. I am, of course, Mutant XP, and tonight we have a very special guest, old school SoCal FGC head turned Fightcade online Third Strike player, AC Slayer. Thank you, AC, for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mutant. Thank you.
And so, before we get into what we want to talk about tonight, AC,
Yeah.
first and foremost, I just want to go ahead and apologize to everyone who was expecting me to do a podcast earlier today with the Abu Dhabi UAE Third Strike Goki player Musa. Um, there's an emergency on my part kind of came up, and we had to sort of reschedule that. But AC Slayer, being the clutch player that he is, was willing to switch slots with Musa. And so I'm happy to announce that we're going to schedule Oni Musa's podcast for the 24th, which is originally when we were supposed to have you on, AC.
Yeah.
And so thanks again for Musa for understanding, and thanks again, AC, for coming in the clutch the last minute.
Yeah, it's definitely no problem. I'm glad to help out. So I'm
And
here.
so for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Mutant XPerience or are tuning in for the first time, basically I started this podcast to help Third Strike players like AC Slayer promote themselves and their projects and their scenes. And I think when it comes to a theme with season two of the Mutant XPerience, I really wanted to have guests from scenes that I, at least personally, think haven't really received the kind of coverage or exposure that I think they deserve. And so, for example, with Musa, you know, Third Strike has been very strong presence in the Dubai area and the UAE area, but no one seems to talk about them. And then tonight, obviously, AC Slayer, we're going to talk a lot about the online Third Strike scene,
Right.
which obviously has been around forever. But most recently, there's been an increase in the number of streams and online only events. And so, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. But one of the things we're going to be talking about is, basically what the role of the online scene is going to be moving forward when it comes to the Third Strike scene. And we're obviously online Third Strike or playing Third Strike online can be a very divisive topic, right, AC? And so
Yeah,
we're definitely going to
for
get
sure.
into some of that. But we're also going to get to know you as a player too, AC, because
Yeah.
like a lot of online players, your origins are in the offline scene.
Yes.
And so that's pretty much what's on tap for tonight. And so why don't we just go ahead and get started? Unless you wanted to say something before we get into it, AC.
No, I'm ready to start.
All right, great. So again, in the chat, if you have any questions for either me or AC during the night, please type them in the chat, and we will get to them in the third segment of the podcast. And so, AC, I want to start by talking a little bit about how you got into fighting games in general.
Hmm.
Um, for those of you who are unfamiliar with AC Slayer, some of you, who've been part of the FGC for the last 20 years or so may recognize his name from another game. So why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about that, AC Slayer? How'd you get into the FGC, and what was your how did you get into this scene and start playing Street Fighter?
Right. Okay. Well, that question has a lot of answers, so I'll try to keep it as succinct as possible. Um, but I feel like people started getting to know me, like in the FGC, when I started releasing certain videos. Like there was one video I made, I titled it "How to Master Ken's Kara Shoryuken," and I recorded it in 2005 with the help of Ed Ma and Ehud. They were both, SoCal Ken players that I met from Family Fun Arcade, and we were all just saying like, yeah, hey, you know what? go ahead, do it, AC. Just make a video. So I just recorded it with like a really crappy digital camera, recorded it, and I wrote some text using Windows Media Maker. It's horrible, right? Back in 2005, 2006, YouTube only allowed like a certain resolution. You can only upload videos at 360p. So
Oh, I remember that.
I still remember the resolution that I recorded the thing. It was like I had to downscale it and then upload it, but it was like 368 by 224 video, really really like blurry. But apparently like because I uploaded it to combovideos.com and because people were talking about it on Shoryuken, like I guess people started realizing, oh wait, yeah, I did see that car Shuriken tutorial, and I sort of got help from this guy named Thongboy, who at the
Song Boy
time,
Bebop.
yeah, exactly, Thongboy Bebop, exactly. He made a third strike tutorial, like the basics, what you should know, and I sort of talked to him, and he said, yeah, like this is gonna work, and he helped me a little bit with how to edit the stick to make it like synchronized with the video.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I was sort of known from that one video. But in terms of how I got into fighting games in general, I'll answer this question sort of differently. So how people know me is because of that video, but how I got into it is a little different. Um, I remember back in 1999, I walked into a GameStop and I saw like MVC1 like on sale. Like I just saw it like the actual game. So then I decided to pick it up. And
Oh
I
wait,
are
sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
AC, but where were you in 1999?
Vancouver, BC.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
yeah. So, I mean, the history of my whereabouts, I mean, it's pretty complicated, so I won't bore the viewers or listeners with the details of that. But
Start
I
out in Canada.
I started out in
The
Canada,
story
exactly.
starts in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. And so I bought the game, picked it up, and went to training mode instantly. Learned like the game came really, really natural to me. Like I didn't really
Uh-huh.
have to play that much. And then for some, I don't know if it's like a stroke of luck or anything, but I went to local arcades and I saw people playing it, and I was like, hey, I can, I can do this. So I started basically playing competitively at the arcade. So I would like go to regional tournaments just for that game. I mean, we're talking about like in Richmond, BC, like population like 60,000. Like, it's like a really small city. So
Mhm.
you can imagine like what the arcade scene looks like. It's it's not popping like how it is in SoCal. And I would travel to different cities like Burnaby. I would basically seek out like arcades that had that game, and I would just try to play. And every once in a while there'd be tournaments, and I'd be doing pretty well. And I guess when I went to college, this is how I got into Third Strike. So I guess I'll just spend maybe a minute talking about how I got into Third Strike. I went to UCLA for my undergrad from 2004 to 2009. And I guess I was just really, really lucky. It was during the time that there was Evo Moment 37, 2004. It was during the time when basically Third Strike in North America was really competitive, and it was one of the best things to do. And because I went to UCLA, there was actually an arcade called Xscape, which was later renamed to Coins later on. And they actually held tournaments there for Third Strike. And that's where I met Gio Rodriguez for the first time. That's where I met Antonio, who goes, Harry, aka, if you guys don't know, he still plays. He still goes to Don's. I met a ton of great players, and then eventually that was a gateway to me traveling to Family Fun. And that's where I first met you, actually, in person. And you keep telling me you don't remember, so I feel kind of hurt about that.
No, I'm sorry, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I think I think I told the story in a previous stream, but the last two NECs ago, the one where Sanchez went.
Oh,
Do you remember that? I think that it's the one I won.
yeah,
Like, I did. He came up to me. He was like, "Hey, Mute, what's up?" I was like,
yeah,
"Hey, what's up?" And like,
yeah,
I just kind of played it off.
yeah,
And then I
yeah,
went to Lloyd and I went, "Yo."
yeah. Exactly. Oh, by the way, I'm looking at like what you're sharing right now. Yeah, that was 2009 Denjin Arcade Tournament. Yeah, I remember this one. Yeah, the Black Yun is that Antonio guy I'm talking about. I teamed up with J.R. Rodriguez,
uh-huh.
Harry, is
Uh-huh.
a pretty good player, and yeah, for the 3v3 tournament. Don't know if you were here. You probably moved already at that time, right? Like,
June, January 2009. I actually did come back for a year,
Yeah.
and so I might have been. I actually might have been to that. I think I did go to that.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
don't remember though.
Right. Yeah, I
But
remember
but, but
our.
back to your story, UCLA, and
Oh,
but
okay,
back to your
all right,
story.
okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, so got a little sidetracked there, but just to continue, eventually went to Family Fun, and like basically Third Strike was basically my life. I remember spending more time playing Third Strike at the arcade than I did in class. I didn't fail college though, okay? I graduated, but
Uh-huh.
um, basically Third Strike just completely sucked me in, and
Uh-huh.
it basically became my life. And I started shifting away from playing MVC1 competitively. And what I did with that was I just made combo videos. I don't know. I mean, probably people who are listening may have seen a few of my combo videos, but I did that just for MVC1. And in terms of Third Strike, I just tried my best to get good at the game. I went to Evos. I never really placed top 16 at all, but I always got really close. I played at the FFA Ranbats, and I always got close to top 8. Um, and then I guess I'll end it like this. Um, I guess after Street Fighter 4 came out, it sort of became, in my opinion, like a slow death of Third Strike. And as a result of a lot of arcades shutting down, like FFA or Chinatown Fair and NYC, or just a lot of different places, like even UCLA had to like move their arcade because no one was playing. You know, you could play SF4 on the console,
What was
and
the name of their arcade again?
at UCLA,
Yeah. What was it
Coins.
called?
It was renamed to Coins, and before it was called Xscape.
Xscape. Yeah, it was called Xscape.
Xscape, yeah, and then it was changed to Coins when it moved because like, you know, it was running out of business. Like Harrison, the guy who was running the UCLA arcade, also ran like I don't know, like 8 different arcades across the city too. But anyway, I guess how I sort of made it to the online scene. I guess like should we segue to that? Like how?
Well, before we get to the online scene, I do have a couple questions about your SoCal, your
Okay,
time in the
sure.
SoCal FGC.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about the kind of game Marvel was, and so like, how come you never? How come you never transitioned into MVC2? Because
Okay.
for anyone who knows a little bit about the history of Marvel, especially in SoCal, I
Great
mean, there
question.
was some amazing players, right? And
Yes,
just
absolutely.
people like Potter and Sue Mighty, and and
You know,
Duck, and
okay,
just
you just mentioned Potter, right? Okay, so we all had a nickname for Potter. We called him Lost Child.
yeah,
That was
Lost Child. Yeah, I
we
know
called him
that.
Lost Child. Okay, no, we love him. Potter's amazing, right? It's just that like everyone at the arcade would look like relatively old, but he would look like he's like 12.
Yeah,
So like we're like, whoa, like where's your parents? So,
yeah,
I'm
right.
kidding, I'm kidding. So we called Potter Lost Child. No, there were great MVC2 players, no doubt. Like in fact,
Yeah.
when I was playing MVC1 still at UCLA, there was a Third Strike machine, an
Uh-huh.
MVC2 machine, a CVS2, and a Marvel 1. So you didn't have much time to sort of like play every game unless you're Justin
Mm,
Wong. So you had to pick. So my 2 games were Third Strike for competitive and
mm,
MVC1 for combos. That's kind of what I chose. In terms of why I didn't make that transition, because of Third Strike. Third Strike was the reason why I didn't go to Marvel 2.
mm. Okay.
And also, if you, I mean, I'm not trying to sound, all, I guess, I don't know, like, what's the word? Egotistical or big-headed, but I felt like my contribution to the MVC1 scene was like very important. Like I was
Mm,
contributing to new tech. Like I was discovering very specific infinites that you could do, very specific terminology that
mm,
we use now, such as Suki cancel or flying screen deterioration (FSD) that you can use in that game. And I was putting it in a form where the people who were hardcore MVC1 players they really appreciated. So
mm,
that's why I didn't switch to MVC2. It's because of the things I was doing for MVC1 and Third Strike.
mm. So I guess you were trying to keep MVC1 kind of alive, I guess, through your combo videos,
Yeah,
and then that's why you didn't transition into Marvel 2.
yeah,
Is that,
that
I
and
guess?
yeah, that and also like I really felt like Marvel 1 is a completely different game. Like for instance, in
Yeah.
Marvel 1, you're not able to do like infinites are really hard to do. With the exception of Gambit, like it's really hard to actually do combos in that game. They did a really good
Uh-huh.
job. But in MVC2, like
Yeah,
everyone,
it's easy, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So there's that
Uh-huh.
appeal to it.
Yeah. And okay. So it's funny that you say that cuz not many people know about Marvel 1, right? I mean, it's funny cuz with Infinite, on the horizon,
Oh yeah.
everyone suddenly cares about Marvel history,
Yeah, 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 for sure,
and
for sure.
so I guess that's kind of why I asked the question. I thought maybe some people would be interested, and that's kind of an interesting point. You're right. For anyone who's played Marvel 1, I mean, it just feels different. You know,
Yeah. Mm.
even more different than like say Second Impact to Third Strike. I mean, it's just
Oh God.
if yeah,
Yeah.
it feels really different.
Yeah.
And so, what exactly? I always ask my guests this,
Hmm.
but what was it specifically about Third Strike that you liked? Because I mean, did you play the other iterations of three? Did you
Yeah,
play
I
New
did.
Generation? Did you
I
play
did.
Second Impact?
Yeah.
And if so,
So
what was kind of holding it back? Because obviously you chose to focus on Marvel, and the other Street Fighter 3 titles were available, during the same time. But obviously, those never really caught your eye. But what was it specifically about Third Strike that just kind of went, wow, this is a
right.
sick game, just a game I gotta play.
Okay, well, there's a lot to that question, and I'm gonna get to the answer, but I do want to read to the chat one thing. Netro says, "I got a question. Does AC always make kissy faces when posing in pictures with Japanese Titan players?" Oh, that's actually, I believe, Evo 2008, I think, or it's one of the Evos in between
Uh-huh.
2007 and 8, where Nuki won. You guys can look it up. And I remember taking that picture after he got a double perfect on me. It's very embarrassing, but I was like, "Yo, hey, can I please get this photo?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like super nice.
Uh-huh.
He was basically it was like before the tournament started, and everybody was wanting to play him. He had like a 126 game win streak,
Wow.
and I wanted to play him, and I had to. He won 2007. There we go, Shotokan. Yeah, Shotokan. Perfect. Thank you. Um, let's see. Shelby says hi. What's up, Jacob? How's it going? Okay. So to answer your question, what was it about Third Strike? Okay, so Third Strike, I felt like struck the perfect balance between like being able to play solid and being
Uh-huh.
rewarded for taking risks, and that comes from
Uh-huh.
parrying.
Ah.
When I feel like in Third Strike, right, the fact that you can parry a move, it really, really rewards you for being able to know what your opponent is doing. If you're good at reading, if you're good at guessing what your opponent's going to do, if you have a good read, then essentially the game becomes more about playing the opponent. For me, at least, that's how I viewed Third
Mhm.
Strike. And so things like conditioning your opponent to do something, looking for baits, these things become more readily rewarded in Third Strike because of the parry. I'll make a random example. I'm not the best Street Fighter V player, I'm not the best Third Strike player, but in Street Fighter V, a lot of times like you'll be in basically block mode because somebody has like a really really good string. If you hit in between that string, it could be a frame trap. It could just be very unfavorable for you to hit, and you just have to block it out. In Third Strike, it's a lot different. In Third Strike, if you have a good read on your opponent, during those windows that you're able to actually hit a button, if someone's very positive, you can actually go for an option parry,
Mhm.
which is you can basically stop their pressure if you have a good read, and you can turn the tides. So
Mhm.
that's what I love about Third Strike. Another simple answer is, didn't you guys see Evo Moment 37? Like, I feel like if you see Evo Moment 37, I don't see how you could be a fan of Street Fighter and not at least, give Third Strike a chance. So
It's
that's my
it,
answer.
it's it's funny because about a week ago, obviously, everyone knows who James Chen is, and for some reason, in the last few months, James has been he's been fielding a lot of questions about Third Strike, and he hasn't. And obviously, James is not shy about sharing his feelings
Mm-hmm.
about Third Strike. And it's funny because, like, you were talking about the parry mechanism,
Yeah.
and it seems as though you're saying the reason that you like the parry system is exactly the reason that James thinks he thinks the parry
Mhm,
diminishes what you think the parry is
mhm.
actually,
Yep.
and I don't know. Are you familiar with what
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
James
think
Chen's theory of the
I think
parry and
his sentiment honestly like echoes in the hearts of a lot of people who
mhm,
like traditional Street Fighters. I
mhm.
would say Third Strike is no other Street Fighter since Third Strike has been like Third Strike. They
Yeah,
haven't like Capcom hasn't made a game like Third Strike since 1999.
yeah,
So, um, I can totally understand if James Chen or anyone else have an equally valid opinion about what Street Fighter they like. For me, it's just about being able to change the pace if you have a good read without
hmm,
trying to just block everything. I feel like Third Strike because of the parry. Now, that's not the only reason why Third Strike is good. I mean, look at the core of Third Strike. Okay, let's take away the parrying. Okay,
hmm,
Ken v Ken, the footsie battle there. I mean, it's so deep with
hmm,
punishing. In Street Fighter Five, like I don't know, like I played Ken in season one, and like his low forward is just the range is bad. You can't really like punish with it. Like hit confirming from like short moves wasn't as good as what the game wanted you to do. Like in five,
hmm,
it seemed like for Ken they wanted you to uh, go into EX combos from a medium punch.
uh-huh.
I guess like later on the tech developed to what players would eventually do is they would do a jab into like the medium punch into something else. But in Third Strike, I just felt like it's a simpler game. You know, like the footsies feel right. Um, oh yeah, you actually have me playing Nika right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 his Makoto. Yeah.
I like how you're talking about footsies and then you empty jump shore you.
Yeah,
But
t-shirts.
anyway,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. He gets the triple there and the
yeah,
taunt. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's over. Nika, great player, but yeah, I'm not gonna say I agree with James. Everyone's got a different opinion. I don't think one's more valid than the next. Yeah, it's just an opinion.
so yeah, I mean, just to kind of echo your sentiment, there's something about Third Strike where everything looks like it makes sense, like that doesn't look like you can punish with that,
Mhm.
but with like other modern games, that's I think the biggest issue that I have with modern games is you have to know the math, you have to know the frame data.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
almost like the developers they just make arbitrary decisions as
Mhm.
to what's safe and what isn't.
That's right.
It's just so funny to me. But
That's
with
right.
Third
And
Strike, things just look right.
yeah.
You know?
And I feel like frame data is like important in Third Strike as well, but it's not
Oh
as
yeah.
important because of things like option parry, because of the fact that like nothing really is safe in Third Strike. I mean, if you include red parry as part of a viable tech,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of great players use, like Kuroda is known for red parrying, just
Oh no,
but
I always tell anyone who will
yeah,
listen to me, if you're playing casuals, practice red pairing everything because you know it's you're playing casuals. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like it's not what are you playing? What are you doing when you're playing casuals? You're practicing, right?
yeah,
And I always tell players get into the habit of of remembering. Okay, I can red
yeah,
parry that,
yeah.
and try it because when else are you gonna practice that shit, right?
Mhm.
You're not gonna practice it in a tournament match. You know,
Yeah, just
um,
get used to the muscle memory
yeah,
because the thing is like if you're able to red parry consistently well, like obviously I'm speaking for offline
uh-huh.
play, especially because I feel like online there's too many factors such as lag or
Which we'll
rollbacks.
get into definitely.
But red parrying essentially makes it so that like even true block strings are not safe, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I just love that about Third Strike, just being able to get a good read and be rewarded for your read. And you also get punished. I mean, if you're parry happy, if you're always trying to option parry everything, that also works against you. So I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I guess now I guess we'll talk a little bit about your transition to online play. So how did you kind of start? How did you become basically someone who plays the majority of 3S online?
Hmm. Denja says, "Who's the guy on the left?" Some random scrub who is talking right now. No, no, no. It's me, Denjas. How you doing? AC. Uh, so I'm sorry. Can you just repeat your question again?
Oh
How
yeah, I
did
was
I
just
go
saying.
from?
So how does someone with the kind of resume and offline background that you do, I mean, how did you kind of just become one of the more notable players online?
Right,
Like,
right, right, right. Okay, so I guess I'll just answer that question like this. Okay, so I guess up until 2011, I was still like heavily invested in the offline scene, but GGPO was I don't know what year it was out, but I logged on GGPO. My friend Chip Douglas from NorCal, deadly player, great player. He was like, "Hey, did you know? Like, did you hear that you can play Third Strike for free?" I'm
mhm.
like, what? You can play Third Strike for free? He's like, yeah, there's the platform called 2DF, and there's also like GGPO. You gotta try it. So then I downloaded it, I tried it, and I thought it was like the worst experience I've ever had. Like, what? And like, like most people, like I don't blame the people who play online because like some people who maybe they don't have access, maybe it's a geographical restriction, they can't make it out, or
uh,
maybe their local scene doesn't have a scene. So I understand that, but my first impression of GGPO was really, really bad. The players sort of lacked skill, and it was laggy, and the community was kind of ignorant. So I didn't enjoy it. However, I felt like over the years, like it's 2007 now, it's been what, like 9 years since I first, logged on GGPO. I think the players have evolved. I think players are better now.
mhm,
The lag is always going to be an issue, but I guess the main reason why I sort of transitioned out of that is because I live in Vancouver, BC now,
mhm,
where we have basically two arcades with Third Strike. I've hunted the city now. Okay, 100-mile radius. I've searched the entire city. There's only two arcades. One of which is not maintained really really well. It's in a bowling alley, and the other one's called Movie Land Arcade, and
mhm.
that's maintained well, but the competition is just isn't there. So would it be worth it for me to make the trip over there and beat everybody and not really have competition and the scene's really, really small? Or I can sort of like on a very humble level just go to Fightcade and, relax, play a couple games, obviously deal with the online limitations of such as lag or input delay or rollback or all sorts of things. Like what about the monitor like lag that you get or
Mhm.
in like all sorts of things. But I guess the reason why I transitioned from an offline to the online is just because of convenience. You can play for free, and yeah,
And you didn't have
there
a scene. And you didn't have a scene. Really,
no
there
no
was
scene
no.
no scene anymore. And even when I came back to like every once in a while, I'll visit LA just for fun.
Uh-huh.
And when I do that, I had other reasons to visit LA just other than Third Strike. But when I did, the arcades weren't the same as they were
Uh-huh.
before. Like I went back to the UCLA arcade, and I saw some of the same players. It was kind of cool. It was
Yeah.
sentimental, but Family Fun's no longer there, and like I really feel because of Street Fighter 4 mostly, and also Street Fighter 5 now, there really isn't like an offline scene. I mean, there's still dawns right now in torrents that like people like Kazi, Five Star, Power Lee, Tenren, like whoever can make it, they'll still go there for like their own little offline thing. I think they play online edition. I'm not sure what version they play, but the lack of the scene offline, like I feel like if the offline experience wasn't so bad,
Mhm.
like I really think it's a great thing.
And so and so, did you ever did you ever consider maybe starting a scene, or or was that just not in the cards for you in
Oh,
that your neck of the woods?
oh, like starting a scene, like an offline scene in
Yeah.
Vancouver. You know what? It actually has crossed my mind, right?
Uh-huh.
But then you need a ton of money, to get the cabs and like
Uh,
the logistics didn't seem to work out for me, and I just
uh-huh.
felt like, hey, you know what? You have Fightcade here. It's free. There's players that you talk to every single day.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I put some thought into it.
Okay. So I think now's a good time to take a break.
Mhm.
And so we're gonna take about a 2 minute break, and then when we come back, AC, I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing for the online Third Strike community now. For those of you who don't know, AC Slayer, along with another notable Fightcade Third Strike player, H Rove, as well as Kazi, have recently started a series of Ranbats, Fightcade Third Strike Ranbats.
Yeah, you can say that.
I guess that's what we would call it. And the name of the series is what, No Respect Tournament? Is that what it's called?
There's a whole story behind it which I'll go
Yeah,
over later. Yeah, why
yeah.
it's called that.
So we're definitely going to talk a little bit about that and talk about get AC's thoughts on what he plans on accomplishing with this no respect Ranbat.
Mm.
Once again, guys, you're watching the Mutant XPerience. If you have any questions for either me or AC Slayer, just leave them in the chat, and we'll definitely get to them in the final segment. And so, just stay tuned, guys, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.